In 1848, a locomotive engineer named Wilhelm Ritter filed a maintenance report with the Prussian State Railway Authority. The report described a series of rail cars operating on a route between Königsberg and Tilsit that had been in continuous service for 11 months without refueling. Ritter noted that he had personally inspected the locomotives 3 times during that period. There were no coal bunkers, no wood storage, no water tanks of the size required for steam generation over that distance. He wrote that the engines were warm to the touch and operational, but he could not locate the fuel source. His report was acknowledged and filed. He was reassigned 6 weeks later to a clerical position in Berlin. No follow-up inspection was ever recorded. The official explanation is that these were early experimental engines, possibly using an enclosed fuel system that Ritter misunderstood or failed to recognize. That explanation accounts for some things, but not this. Standard steam locomotives of that era required refueling every 40 to 60 miles depending on load and terrain. The Königsberg-Tilsit route was over 70 miles. 11 months of operation, even with reduced schedules, would have required dozens of refueling stops. Ritter's report lists none. What's missing here is any documentation of fuel deliveries, coal shipments, or wood suppliers contracted to that line during that period. The logistical records that should exist don't. There's another detail in Ritter's report that's easy to overlook. He described the engine housings as sealed units, with no external access points for fuel loading. The boiler systems were contained within smooth metal shells that had no hatches, no removable panels, and no intake vents in the locations he expected. He wrote that the design was unlike any locomotive pattern I have been trained to service. The dimensions he recorded show the engine housings were roughly half the size of comparable steam engines in use at the time. If the fuel was stored internally, the space available would have allowed for a few hours of operation at most, not 11 months. Once you notice it in one place, it becomes harder to ignore elsewhere. In 1847, a similar report appeared in the archives of the Imperial Russian Railway Commission. An inspector named Dmitry Kavrin documented a freight locomotive operating on a route near Kazan that had no visible coal or water supply. He wrote that the engine produced no smoke, only a faint heat distortion above the housing. His report noted that local railway workers referred to the engine as the quiet one because it produced significantly less noise than other locomotives. Kavrin requested a technical review. The request was denied. The locomotive was decommissioned 4 months later, and no records indicate where it was sent or what happened to it. A third account appears in a private letter written in 1849 by a French railway investor named Armand Duclos. He described witnessing a demonstration of a self-sufficient engine at a private rail yard outside Lyon. Duclos wrote that the engine ran for 6 consecutive hours without any observable fuel source. He noted that the demonstration was attended by several engineers and government officials, but no public announcement was ever made. He mentioned that he attempted to invest in the technology, but was told the project had been discontinued for practical reasons. The letter was sold at auction in 1923. The railway yard he described no longer appears on maps from that region. In 1851, the Prussian State Railway Authority published a comprehensive technical manual covering all locomotive classes in service across its network. The manual is over 400 pages long and includes diagrams, maintenance schedules, and fuel consumption rates for every engine type. There is no mention of the Königsberg-Tilsit engines. The route itself is listed, but the rolling stock assigned to it is marked as standard classification. Ritter's report is not referenced. A supplemental document, listed in the manual's index as Appendix 12 and titled Non-Standard Engine Observations, is missing from every surviving copy of the manual. The appendix is cited twice in footnotes, but the pages themselves are not included. No explanation is provided. What's also absent from the record is any patent filing, design schematic, or engineering paper that describes how these engines operated. If they were experimental, there should be prototypes, test results, or correspondence between engineers and manufacturers. If they were foreign imports, there should be customs records or purchasing agreements. If they were a failed design, there should be incident reports or decommissioning logs. None of that exists. The engines appear in isolated reports for a brief window between 1847 and 1851, and then the documentation stops. By 1853, railway records across Prussia, Russia, and France returned to standard formats. Every locomotive is accounted for. Fuel consumption is logged. Refueling schedules are consistent. The brief period where engines operated without clear fuel sources is not mentioned again. It's as if those years were edited out, or the records were rewritten to align with what was expected rather than what was observed. That kind of uniformity across multiple state railway systems doesn't happen by chance. It suggests coordination, or at the very least, a shared decision to stop documenting certain details. If these locomotives existed and operated as described, then the fuel source was either hidden in a way that trained engineers could not detect, or it was something that didn't require conventional fuel. If the reports were mistaken, then multiple inspectors across different countries made the same error in the same time frame. If the engines were removed from service, then the decision was made quickly and quietly with no public record of why. And if the technology was real but suppressed, then the question isn't just about locomotives. It's about what kind of energy system was operational in the mid-19th century that we're no longer allowed to reference. If this raises questions you weren't expecting, leave a comment. Like the video if you think there's more to look at here. Subscribe if you'd rather not miss where this goes next. There are other machines from that period that don't fit either.